Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel, typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is obviously not a recipe because I am out on the porch, although the grill is right over there, so I suppose being on the porch doesn't preclude me doing a recipe. But since I don't really grill very well, I won't be sharing any grilling recipes. No. But today is a No Tag Tuesday. And these questions this week come from Jay over at Average J. And there will be a link to his channel as well as everyone else who's doing the tag down below. There will also be the questions down there if anyone feels like answering them. And if you have a channel and you are doing the questions on your channel, please let me know and I will share that information so that other people can find you. So let us get on with the questions. This is a to the max tag. Number 1, what is the tallest building you have ever been in? I used to be a messenger in New York in the early 80s. So I traveled all over the place to a lot of offices and things like that. At first I thought the tallest building that I had been in was the Empire State Building, but then in looking it up and trying to verify that, I found out that the original World Trade Centers were actually taller than the Empire State Building. So I have to say the World Trade Centers, which were over 1,300 feet, I forget the exact number. I'll put them down here. But that does not mean I went to the top of them. Just means that was the tallest building I was ever in, which was the question. It didn't say that you went to the top of. So that's my answer. Number 2, what is the deepest you have ever been underwater? I would say probably not more than 2 to 3 feet. I do not do well underwater. Paul took me to Florida one year and tried to get me to go scuba diving with him, or snorkeling. It was snorkeling, not scuba diving. But I have an issue with claustrophobia, with having my ears covered. It's weird, don't ask. So I could not do it. I couldn't bring myself to try to go under the water, so I'm not even sure I went down 2 feet that time. Other times, I'm sure swimming, I've dove down and for a second been at 3 feet maybe. But yeah, I do not do deep water. Number 3, what is the longest amount of time you have ever driven without stopping as a driver, not a passenger? Now, I went over these questions with Paul, and his take on this was that what Jay means is stopping, not stopping for gas or stopping for something to eat, but stopping like for an overnight to stay in a motel or whatever because you need a break from driving. I'm going to say, in either case, that the longest I've ever driven, I went to visit my friend Nancy. I've mentioned her on this channel before. I call her Sina, Nancina Marie. I drove from Norwich, Connecticut, where I was living at the time, to Pennsylvania, Shingle House, Pennsylvania. It was about a 7-hour drive, 8-hour drive. I drove it all in one go. I'm sure I stopped for gas or something, but Paul said that wouldn't preclude anything because everyone would say on 1 tank of gas. So I'm sure I stopped for gas, something to eat, but I guess 7-8 hours from Norwich to Shingle House. That's the longest I've ever driven. And I was actually very proud of myself because, as I've mentioned before, I didn't get my license till I was 33. This trip was probably, it was before I met Paul. It was probably about 24 years ago. Now I have to do math. How was I? I was probably about 35. So I hadn't had my license all that long. So I was very proud of myself for being on highways and taking a long journey. I was very excited about it because it was something new. So yeah, I guess 7 or 8 hours, unless, Jay, you're counting gas and bathroom and food stops. But that's my answer. Number 4, what is the most windy weather you have ever seen? Well, I was living in Connecticut at the time of Hurricane Gloria, and that was, 85, I think. And the winds, I looked all of this up to try to, because, my memory is shot, just like Kim's over a girl and her phone. So I looked all of this up. I believe I could be even misremembering what I just looked up last night. I believe it was 85. Now I got to look it up. Yes, it was 1985. And the winds, they said, were at like 143, 145 miles per hour. So yeah, I'd have to say that was the most windy experience I've ever had. Number 5, what is the most snow you have ever seen? Okay, so I was living in Connecticut also during the blizzard of 78, and I was 15. It actually ended on my brother Tom's birthday. It went from started February 5th, ended February 7th. And yeah, I did not remember all of this. I looked all of this up because my memory is shot. And even having looked it up last night, I still had to look it up again just now because I forgot. Anyway, we got roughly about 3 feet of snow. Apparently the snow started coming down really fast, so fast that the plows couldn't keep up. Then they had difficulty because there were cars stuck in the road, so then the plows couldn't get around the cars. So it was a mess. But that would be the most snow that I have ever seen. Number 6, what is the most cash you have ever held in your hand? Well, lucky for me, I used to work at Mohegan Sun Casino. I used to work in what they call the cage, which is where you cash in your chips. There are 2 different sections. There's coin and there's cage. Coin does all of the slot machines. Cage does all of the table games as far as chips and things like that. So I used to work in the bank in the back, and we would get in large bundles of money. So holding in my hand at one time, I'm assuming one of the big bundles, probably 100,000, maybe more. I don't know how much was actually in them. I don't remember. That I cannot look up. But yeah, I would say like it could have been more than that, but at least 100,000. So it wasn't mine, unfortunately, but I held it. 7, what is the fastest speed you have ever gone in a car? Can be driver or passenger. I would have to say, I think it's probably 95 to 100. Typically, I tend to get a little heavy-footed in the car. Shocking, considering how long it took me to drive. But I will sometimes look down and see that I'm like at 95, and I'm like, oh, I got to back off the pedal here. So I would say either as a driver or passenger, probably 100 at the most. Number 8, what is the farthest you have ever walked or ran in a single session? I did have to look this up as well. When I was younger, in order to get to the gay bars in Hartford, I would have to take a bus from Willimantic, where I lived, to Hartford. And then typically I would like run into a friend, I would meet some friends and either stay with them or get a ride back. But I don't remember the exact reason. I guess I didn't run into any of my friends or something happened, and I ended up walking, trying to get a ride from Hartford to Manchester, which was about 8 miles. And then I'm assuming I must have gotten a ride from there because I don't remember going further than Manchester. But I would have to say probably 8 miles. And believe me, it was walking, not running. Number 9, what is the most expensive restaurant you have ever dined at? I honestly don't know for sure. I have eaten in some expensive restaurants. In fact, for Easter this year, Paul wanted to take us out for a very nice brunch, which was extremely pricey. It was in Boston at a hotel. They were a restaurant in a hotel. And honestly, we were all very disappointed. I think it was like, I want to say almost $200 a person, maybe $150. But it was supposed to be this very highfalutin place, and the food was really not that good. The best part of it were the baked goods, which had come from an outside bakery. And so, you know, the food that they were actually offering, So that was very expensive. I have been to other expensive restaurants with Paul because I would not go to an expensive restaurant by myself. I mean, not just by myself, but I wouldn't go to an expensive restaurant without him saying, okay, we're going to go here. There was a place we went to in Boston one time when I went for some tests to check my neuropathy and myopathy early on. We were getting a second opinion in Boston. We went to this really fancy restaurant where they serve like little petite things that I thought would never fill me up, but it actually did. It was very good. That was expensive, but again, Paul paid for that, so I don't really know how expensive. So I guess I can't really say what the most expensive is, but I'm definitely going to say that the most disappointing expensive restaurant was the Easter brunch at whatever this hotel was. And number 10, the last question. What is the largest predator you have ever seen in the wild, not in a zoo? If you follow these tags at all, you know that I live kind of in a wooded area. And I did have a coyote running through the yard one day. I actually managed to capture it on film, kind of. It was not the best quality. And we have foxes here, but I think the coyote was bigger than the fox. I've never seen a wolf or a mountain lion or anything like that, so I'd have to go with my coyote. So that does it for Jay's questions this week. Thank you, Jay, for some very interesting questions. Next week, I have no idea who next week is, but we will find out. Actually, I'll look it up and put it down here if I remember, which you know my memory. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this tag, and if you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share any of my videos if you think there's someone out there who would appreciate the content, and hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. Also, comment down below with your responses to these questions. As I said, the questions will be down in the description box. And now YouTube has changed its look, so things are in different positions. But But if you just click more underneath the name of this channel where you start to see some words, it opens up the description box. Threw me off the first couple of times that I tried looking for it, and it probably still will next time. But the questions will be down there, as well as links to the other channels doing these tags. Also down there are links to my Amazon storefront, my Built Bar rewards, my Fetch rewards, and my social media. Here is my Instagram handle if you'd like to follow me there. And there are 2 Facebook groups that I'm part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy, and the other one is Finding Our Way, WEIGH. And that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. So join us over there. There's lots of great tips, tricks, recipes, support, and people. So I am going to enjoy some of the sunny weather before some forecasted thunderstorms decide to roll in. So until next time, bye.